is Jack Whistler,
And my name is Will Rudin.
and we're here to debate some Chicago sports. So our debate for the day is, which Chicago team do you think will win the next championship, and which Chicago sports team do you think will have the longest championship drought? So Will, what's your pick for next championship in Chicago?
My next championship pick for a Chicago team is kind of an obvious one. Probably one that everyone would probably be thinking or pop into someone's head at first. But the Chicago Cubs, they have hitting. They're always gonna have their hitters. They're gonna be there for a while. But obviously the problem now is their bullpen and their rotation. Losing Arrieta in the offseason isn't going to help. The guy's still, 31, 32 years old. He's still capable of being a high-caliber pitcher, but the money, we just can't pay him the money. There's actually reports of us being able to bring Lackey back for a year, but I don't know how much that's going to help us make a World Series run. Lester's getting older. I think, each year he's still there, but I think his numbers are slowly going to start to deteriorate. And I think, to be honest, we're going to have to build around Quintana and Hendricks if we're going to want to bring any guys in,
I think they can just fix that bullpen up and still be really good contenders because they just have the young lineup. Their hitters are their whole fielding position is pretty much going to be back. If they can bring back Elmore, that'd be huge.
Yeah.
I don't know if John Jay will be back, but he was huge.
Yeah, I know. Probably getting rid of John Jay, keeping Elmore on center.
Maybe even trading Schwarber for a really good reliever.
Yeah, there's talks about trading, Schwarber, Happ, Baez.
Trading into the AL. I think a lot of AL teams are interested in him because he'd be a great DH.
Yeah.
So I think they can definitely turn it around, and because they still have a lot of depth. They trade Schwarber, they can just start Happ. This young guy who's very promising.
And we're also forgetting a lot of guys they still do have in the minors. You always hear about the Cubs farm system, how it's one of the best in the leagues.
Yeah, exactly. My pick for next championship is going to have to be the Chicago Blackhawks. People might think they're done. They got 3. But I still think Tyson Kane can bring Chicago one more. I think they got a lot of young guys right now. They got Alex DeBrincat, who's only 19. They've got John Hayden, only 22 years old. And I think they can still provide some depth on the third and fourth lines that could help the Blackhawks win like it has in the past. And I think there'll be a year when Taze and Kane are still at the end of their primes and these young guys are just beginning their primes. So I think we can have a really powerful team and see the Hawks win again.
Yeah, to be honest, it really comes down to, how well Taze and Kane can perform and, help the guys around them, perform with the guys around them, and how well the third and fourth line is going to do. A lot of those championships that we won in the past were because of our third and fourth line. You have Shaw back there. Guys hated playing against Shaw.
Yeah, exactly.
Shaw was a great
very physical
player to have on your team.
He's a guy you hate when he's on your team, but you love to have him on your team.
Exactly. So I think if our third and fourth line can really show out, and have a great year, I think it's possible. I think it's good.
I think
it's a good pick.
I think it's very possible. I think losing Hjalmarsson and the defense is getting old, Keith and Seabrook, but I think they can still do it. I think they got another year of a championship run left in them.
Yeah.
So who's your pick for longest drought?
My pick for longest drought is going to have to be the Chicago White Sox. Obviously coming off a horrible season.
Interesting, because I think a lot of people talk about their young, amazing
The
prospects.
White Sox are young. They do have a lot of prospects. Obviously Cubs traded, Jimenez for Quintana this year and a couple other prospects. I definitely, it's obvious what the White Sox are trying to do, but it's very hard for that system to always work. You have to be extremely lucky for that system to work. The Cubs hit a home run with almost every guy that they drafted. You look at their starting lineup, a lot of those guys were draft picks, you know what I'm saying? You really have to make the right picks. If some of those guys don't turn out, you're not gonna. If 4 or 5 of those prospects that they got turn out, that's not enough to win a championship. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I guess it's too early to tell now, but looking at it right now, I would have to choose them just because of what they are on paper. But it's just kind of like, I think if in a few years, if you kind of see what they start to become, maybe my mind might change.
I think they've done very well in their farm system. One of the best in baseball, arguably the best. They pulled up Moncada towards the end of last year. He played pretty decent. He did hit around 180 though. Yeah, but towards the end of the year, he improved throughout the year. He hit a walk-off 1 point. I think he's got a bright future, and I think they can just pull up those guys slowly, and they don't rush them. And I think if they develop, then they can win a championship. I don't know if they can win it before the Blackhawks win their last one, which is my prediction. But I think they can win one in the 2020s somewhere. My pick for the longest drought would have to be the Chicago Bulls. According to ESPN, only averaging 95 points per game, 3-11 right now. The only really young, promising guy I see in that team is Lauri Markkanen. And I just see the Celtics and Warriors really ruling the NBA for a long time because the Warriors, they're not really slowing down. Kevin Durant and Steph Curry still have their prime left. And I think once their prime ends, Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward will just be getting started ruling the East. So
I feel that pick. I understand. Obviously, now that's probably a lot of people's first pick to choose the Bulls to have the longest drought. But understanding that basketball is a 5-starter sport, it's very easy to come back and have a rebuilding season, get a good draft pick, and then bounce back the next season. Obviously the Bulls right now, they're terrible. But if you look at some of the young guys they have, Markkanen, Chris Dunn, Zach LaVine, those guys are solid guys to start a team for. But if if the Bulls continue to lose a lot of games and they get a number one, number 2 draft pick this year, I think that could really help them, bounce back next season. I'm not saying championship next season. If you look at some of the other teams in the league, but I'm saying if the Bulls have a few seasons like this, I think that it's very easy for the Bulls to bounce back. I feel.
I think the only way they can somehow win a championship is if they get a good free agent signing, good draft pick. Maybe Michael Porter turns out well for them. They take him, turns out great. And then Kyrie Irving gets hurt 1 year in the East. Celtics go down, and then I think maybe the Bulls jump on and powerhouse the East that year, or maybe the Wizards even take over and be close. But I think the Bulls could get lucky like that maybe. But it's tough for me to see them winning another championship for a long time. So that's enough for our picks. Let's see who your teachers at Palatine High School are taking for this debate. So Mr. Carroll from the business department has the Blackhawks winning next championship. He's got the White Sox as his second guess. And then he's got the Bulls for the longest drought because he thinks they're the farthest away, which they obviously are right now. And then Miss Mahoney from the math department has the Cubs for her next championship. And then she's got the Bears for her longest drought, but she is also a Packers fan.
It's a little bit of
bias. A little bias there, so got to take that into consideration. And then Mr. Tucker has the Blackhawks for his next championship, and the Bulls, smart guy, just like me. Same picks as me, so he's from the science department. And that's it for this debate. So let us know what you guys think, and that's our opinions and some of our Palatine teachers.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening.